Hi, I'm Samantha Schwientek, reporter for CBC Indigenous here in Edmonton in Treaty 6. On this National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, I wanted to share some uplifting stories of people who are working to take back their culture. The stories I've chosen include everything from kids who are taking pride in learning their original language in schools to the joy that comes when people are finally able to reclaim items that have been stolen or taken away. When I first thought of sharing these stories, I couldn't help but think of the Nuhawk totem pole and its long journey back to its proper home in Bella Coola, BC. I still get chills when I think of reporter Wamish Hamilton and the moment he describes where the totem pole breathed its first breath of fresh air in over 100 years. So from my team, CBC Indigenous, to you, check out these stories of people reclaiming their culture right here on CBC News Explore.
When I was young, there was hardly any carvers here. It was taken away from us. You feel nervous in ways, but I guess a sign of relief. You know, one of the masterpieces coming home and staying home where it belongs.
On February the 13th, there was a large number of Nuhawk people and onlookers who were gathered outside the Provincial Museum in Victoria. To witness the beginnings of the repatriation of the pole that had belonged to the Nuhawk people, to the Nuhawk people themselves. When the pole made its first appearance, when it was winched out of the window, when I thought about it, that was the first breath of fresh air, the first rays of daylight that it had felt in over a century. That's when I saw a mix of excitement and adulation, but also real seriousness. Like you hadn't seen somebody that you either hadn't seen in a long time, or you've seen somebody that maybe you thought was gone, disappeared.
It comes from a long, long time ago, you know, and it's built with hands that had no damage to it, you know, and it was created with love and, you know, and I think what comes with that pole is going to be healing spirits, you know, and it's something that we need, not only in our nation, but all nations. Yeah.
The emotions are kicking in. I could feel that spirit, and it's starting to kick in, and I just don't know how to put it right now, but my grandfather's going home.
The pole was carved by the ancestor of Chief Derek Snow of the Nuhawk, and it was carved in the 1880s. And when you think about it, that pole was carved before colonization. And the man who carved it was also born before colonization. He was born in a time when there was no English and there was no non-Indigenous people around yet, or there were very few. the thinking, the craft itself, the worldview would have been all Nuhulk, just Nuhulk. It's a type of pole called a stream. That's in their Nuhulk language, a stream. And a stream is a grave marker. It's something that had marked the grave of one of Chief Snow's ancestors when it was taken. For something like that to be stolen, within the context of Nuhulk culture, Nuhulk people would have perceived that as a big taboo, a big cultural no-no, because it's so sacred. It also has to do with the dead. They say that death is a living thing. Death perceives, it senses, it reasons, and it understands, and you don't mock it. My sense of it is if, a Nuhulk person especially, but if any other Indigenous person walked in a museum and saw their ancient pole, it's like seeing something so proud caged, jailed, incarcerated, imprisoned, in a zoo. It doesn't align, it doesn't belong. That's not where it should be.
Every item that they have in the museums, they have a purpose, and their purpose was for our people. So we understand who we are as a people, and most of us have lost that, like our language, our songs, and our dances.
During my time wasn't very nice, but we weren't even allowed to speak our language or do these carvings, but it was kept secret, right? So, but it's making a big comeback now, and we're not going to lose it.
By bringing back my great-grandfather's totem pole, it means a lot to us, and I think the rest of the world want to hear and listen to our people. And I think this is just a start.
It left the museum, it was blessed, they wrapped it again and got it ready for transport from Victoria all the way back to its home in Nuhulk lands in Bellacoola. What did you feel in your heart knowing that it was here, it was finally home? It arrived and it's here now.
I wanted to dance, celebrate, yell. The joy of like knowing that, yeah, he's home.
And when the wrap came off and it was exposed, I thought, this is its first smell, taste, and sense of home in a century. This is its home. When I think about it, it's from a time that's gone now. The people associated with that time, that generation, that worldview that was uninfluenced yet by non-Indigenous people, that's the time that it came from. It's a holdover from another time.
Today is just giving me a lot of hope and a lot of love in my heart to be able to witness this and witness my family do something so historic, something that a lot of First Nations people are trying to do, trying to bring back our culture.
They've got the ultimate teaching tool. For something of theirs that ancient, like to see it, to touch it, to feel it, it's there in the community.
To me, we were second people for so long, and seeing we're coming out of it.
The young children will see it, and understand what it's all about.
I'm happy that we can put the totem pole right here in this school. Our family had decided that for a big purpose. This is where the children are. And this is the prime place that they will be able to see it, and history can be carried on for tomorrow.
It's there, and it's theirs. And it's theirs to do with what they choose. The plan is, I understand, for it to sit at the school for a year. And then it's going to be moved to their old village site. And it will be left to the elements to die a natural death. I understand the pole is not being treated with anything, that it's going to remain in its natural state,
Yes.
even when it's out in the elements.
Yes.
Is that a tradition?
Yes. And it returns back to its natural state.
In a very large sense, what they've done is they've brought it home to die. Until that time, and during the year before, you can bet the new Hulk will fill its life, what's left of its life, with life. And it's not going to be a sad thing when it's gone. It'll be with all of its other ancestor carvings that are gone now. And of course with the man who made it.
I think and I believe I wanted to learn throat singing because that's my destiny. I was born to throat sing. I was created for this. I was created to be the person I am and sing the songs I do and influence the people I do. I was put on this earth for a reason, and one of them is to throat sing and carry that part of our culture on. Most people learn throat singing from someone who teaches them or a family member. I didn't have that, but what I did have, my mother, she took me to a concert when I was very young, and she bought a tape cassette, and I taught myself from that tape. My name is Charlotte. One of my Inuktitut names is Katdu, and in our culture, namesake tradition is very important. I'm a professional singer and throat singer and a performing artist. I grew up here in Ottawa. I was born here in Ottawa as well, but my mother, she's from Panokto Nunavut, so I have like very strong connection to Pang.
Aliyah, are you going to help me mix the bannock? Okay, let's get you a stool so you can.
I can do it by myself.
No, no, no.
So the reason I do what I do is my mom. My mom gave me this tape cassette, and my mom really helped me that way because it shaped me into who I am from this tape cassette.
You need a little bit of help? Yeah, okay. I'll do a little bit and then. My Inuktitut name is Sauloapik, so I was given that name when somebody died in our camp. Do you like Bannock?
Yeah.
Palauga? Can you say Palauga?
Laga.
Mm. What language is that? Inuktitut. I was invited to go to a concert, and there were 2 women who would be performing that day. I decided to bring Charlotte to that event. Little did I know that she was really going to have a big reaction to it. She really wanted to learn how to do that, how to do the throat singing. So once I saw the reaction that my little girl just had, I decided to think of ways where I could encourage her, because it's something that I didn't learn. It wasn't practiced. Even in the camp that we lived in, it wasn't practiced. It wasn't passed down to us children. There's things that were discouraged by the non-Inuit back in that time. So I think it was because of that. These are done, but we still have a few more to do. So when Aliyah was born, she was born at the civic. Charlotte requested the kuluk to be lit when she was giving birth. When she needed to focus, she would stare at the flames of the kuluk. Hey, Charlotte?
When I was pregnant, I would throat sing, whenever I could, whenever I wasn't so tired. But I would throat sing to her while she was in the womb, and I would make songs for her, and I would keep throat singing. I'd speak Inuktitut to her. I'd read to her, and when she came out, it's only natural that she's a throat singer. She knows how to throat sing. She astounds me. She makes noises that I wasn't able to make until I was in college. And Aliyah does that. And I'm like, how can you do that? You're 4. Aliyah is my mom's mom. So my Ningyo, her name was Leah. And so when I knew I was having a girl, and then I was like, why don't I give her grandma's name, Aliyah? And so my mom and her have a very special connection.
Charlotte, Aliyah? Aliyah is very special to all of us. She and I bonded ever since she was born. And it really helps me to remember to pass the traditions. Because I don't throat sing, we don't have that relationship that way, but Charlotte does. And I trust that Charlotte's going to keep the tradition going with her daughter.
Throat singing imitates the things around us and the animals around us and stories, even like emotions. So there's throat songs from so long ago. There's a song about mosquitoes because there's lots of mosquitoes up north. There's a song about the river because there's lots of water up north. There's a very special song on my album, and it's called Panikuluk. And to translate that into English means sweet daughter. So I wrote that song for my Panik, and I've always wanted to give her that part of me, the most vulnerable, true, authentic part that I could ever give someone. I wanted to give it to her as a gift. My love for you. In the chorus in Paninkoluk, I say just really endearing things like, I love you so much, I'm so proud of you, you know, just very, very positive affirmations for her. All of the songs are all very special to me on that album for different reasons, but that one, that's for my baby. That's her song.
Now I try. You happy?
I am very happy.
Danse, Anin, Boujou, hello, and welcome.
It's really fascinating that we can still use our language in this day and age.
Canada, go talk to Ellie.
I always think about my audience. They always on my mind.
Thank you to Inuit who have always been sharing their stories.
That's the story of our people, never giving up.
Sanadapi. Sanadapi. And it means how are you?
Sagapi.
Sagapi. And it means good.
Gitsigakomen.
Which means I love you.
Doing the Blackfoot Word of the Week is a way that we can have some pride around learning Indigenous language when before there was shame around it. First person to say yes was the famous Olympian Clara Hughes.
Summer. Yipo. Yipo. And here's a couple of Summer Olympic medals to go with that beautiful word, yipo.
And then after that, you were able to email other people.
I'd like to say hello to all the students at Chinook High School.
I'm David Suzuki.
Hi everyone, my name's Chris Hadfield.
Oh, bagoy. Oh, bagoy. The Blackfoot Word of the Week, fire burning. Oh, bagoy.
The word of the week is Sanajapi, which means how are you?
It's very good to understand what the word means.
Ich babi motzio. It means we're all related.
Empathy.
My grandmother's Faye Heavy Shield. She's an artist.
Special oki to Marley.
I would often ask her for a good word.
Nach six, my ancestors, those who have gone before.
Our languages are not just different words for the same old thing. It's a different way to think. Ikiman, feather. Your Blackfoot word of the day. Thank you for sharing it with me.
Language is a critical part of who we are and connect us intimately to the environment. River, Nidadan.
The moon. Kokamikitsu.
Igakiman. Simply put, try hard and persevere.
Ixogapi.
See you next time.
My name is Lechlechetkwa, and I'm from the Stratlimuk territory and the Litwat Nation, and I'm an Ohlmiuk person. I'm now a UBC student, and I'm in the First Nations and Endangered Languages program. And I learn how to document and transcribe Indigenous languages. I had a really hard time when I was younger with my identity because of the way that I look, and most of my siblings are all darker and everything, so it was kind of a way for me to reclaim that part of myself. So then if I can speak the language, then I am Lil'wat. A lot of the courses that I took in the program, they were teaching us how to think about languages and kind of like decolonize your mind in a way, because you have to know how to work with languages and in the language's way. Tala, Antlash, Kaslash, Choochin, Chilks, Tlakumst, Chuslakat, Palupst, Compalment, Kamp. Ohlmiuk, if you can count from 1 to 10, then you can basically speak the language, because then all the words from 1 to 10, they have all of the sounds in our language, so all the sound systems. Spesk, Chuchin, Reichman, Tasla, Glina, Huzapo, Wipkiluma, Chapalch, Inquitlushten. Inside languages hold so many pieces of our cultures. It's like a part of your identity, and then when you can't speak it anymore, it's like there's something missing. And I don't think that'll ever, that feeling won't ever go away unless I really learn the language and can speak to other people in it. It's hard while I'm at school. I don't really see as many people from my own nation, so I kind of just read my dictionary and say the words to myself and go through the different booklets that I have.
My English name is Alvin Nelson. My native name is Winnimkin.
Eshkatsa.
Yeah, I'd have to say I'm really proud of my daughter Maya for taking up that linguistic subject, and I really believe that it could help our people.
Have you been training?
No, I didn't have time.
No?
I can only try to help her with what I can remember. I noticed that a lot of the students that are doing the language course, they don't have certain sounds that I grew up with. How would you say it, going hunting?
To hunt is pechem.
Yeah, you say pechem, but I say pechem.
Pechem.
Yeah, so that's the difference. That's the just changing of the language.
Yeah, pechem.
And sometimes she's telling me something and I don't quite understand. I have to think for a while, and then I say it because the way I remember hearing it or the way I learned it, and then we realize that she's saying it a little bit different than how I was brought up with it. So that we're gonna have to correct all that part. So it's quite important to have our fluent language people more involved in schooling too. I think it's because we have under 200 people left in this community that are fluent speakers, which is almost erasing us.
Sometimes when I'm home, I'll be reading a phrase or something in the dictionary, so I'll write it on a sheet of paper and then I'll put it on the cupboard in the kitchen, and then every once in a while I'll try to say it.
I hope it doesn't rain too hard.
I kind of just grew up with archery, really.
I'll still need some tape though.
I got tape. I got it with me.
You got some on you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really just something that I enjoy doing. It's pretty heavy, hey?
No, it's 35.
It felt a lot heavier. I really enjoy competing because you kind of get a chance to talk to a bunch of people from different cultures and who speak different languages. So when I was competing, I really wanted to be able to speak my own language so I could share it with other people. It makes me more motivated as well to learn it.
And I hope we survive. It's like we're quite small, quite a small group of people. In our area here, where I think we're only around 2,500. We just decided that nobody's going to help us start a school, so my Uncle John just said, well, I'll volunteer, I'll be a teacher. He wasn't a teacher, but he was actually my best teacher I ever had.
I've grown up hearing him tell us all about all these different stories, but you always need to hear them again and again so that you have the story right. And then I like hearing him sing because he's a really good singer.
My mom was involved with hoping to save the language. But now we have Maya. Hopefully she can revive some of the language.
Did you ever think you'd see the day when they'd be teaching it on this level?
Yeah, I think I did actually. When I was younger, I thought that anything's possible. My mom always told me anything's possible. Okay, little lad.
Words matter, symbols matter, representation matters. And if you look around Newfoundland and Labrador, there are words, symbols, and representations of Indigenous people that cause harm and don't accurately represent who we are. Think of your own name, for example. Think of how much it means to you and is part of your identity. Now, imagine you tell someone that your name is Mary, but they call you Brenda instead. It doesn't feel too good, does it? But finally, change appears to be coming. The provincial government is conducting a review of cultural symbols, observances, and monuments. And that review has already turned up plenty that need to change. The first change to be announced is the provincial coat of arms. Designed in 1637, the official description refers to this pair of Beothuk warriors as savages. You get a sense of where we're starting from. Next, government announced it was renaming Red Indian Lake in central Newfoundland. Good pick, but government failed to consult widely enough on the new name and ended up choosing a name from the Mi'kmaq language for a place that was inhabited by Beothuk people, which rubbed some people the wrong way. A few months later, the province announced that it would now be called Beothuk Lake instead. Then came the Mary March Museum in Grand Falls, Windsor. The Beothuk woman for whom the museum is named was kidnapped by European settlers who called her Mary March. Her name is Demasduit, and so now the museum will be known as the Demasduit Regional Museum. So that's what's been announced so far. But where does the review go next? Government says there's plenty more under official consideration. Inside Confederation Building, there is a huge mural that depicts the province's early history, and the Indigenous representation in it is problematic to say the least. The mural is now going to be expanded by an Indigenous artist. Then there's the statue of Court Real across the street from Confederation Building. Gaspar Court Real was a Portuguese explorer and, among other things, a slave trader who was said to have abducted 57 Indigenous people upon his arrival in Newfoundland or Labrador in 1501. Speaking of statues, there's a plan to build a statue honoring the Beothuk, the island's original inhabitants and stewards of the land, on the grounds of Confederation Building. There's the former Discovery Day holiday on June 24th. The name was scrubbed in 2020 because you can't discover a place where people have already lived. It's been called the June holiday ever since, but the province is looking for a better name. Then there's the Colonial Building in St. John's. Once the seat of government in Newfoundland, the building is now being turned into a museum. But the word colonial and all of its terrible history may not be in the building's new name. That's the official list for now, but there could be more to come. There's Mount Peyton in central Newfoundland, which is named after John Peyton Jr., the very person who kidnapped Demasduit and was charged with killing her husband when he tried to rescue her. In Nunatsiavut, 4 of the local schools are named after Moravian missionaries. Some former students in the community think that the name needs to go, although not everyone in the community agrees. And then there's Grenfell, whose name is all over the place, from the Labrador Grenfell Health Authority to Memorial's Grenfell campus in Corner Brook. Grenfell has long been upheld as a hero of this province, but there's been a renewed focus on his role in sending Indigenous children to residential schools. This list isn't definitive or complete, and no list can sum up the pain that Indigenous folks feel when they hear, see these places and symbols. And none of this would be news if more people had been listening to Indigenous people from the beginning instead of sidestepping our history or silencing our voices. But now you know, and now you are listening, and that is a start.
Hi, I'm Janelle Henry. I'm a reporter with CBC Indigenous. I'm Ojibwe from Rosa River Anishinaabe First Nation, and I'm based in Winnipeg, Manitoba. The story you're about to watch is called Why Res Radio Has Our Hearts. And this story is close to my heart because I got my start in media at Res Radio back in high school. So what I hope you take away from this is just how much meaning these little stations can create for those that are creating them and for those that listen to them. So enjoy right here on CBC Explore. So where are you from?
Island Lake, Manitoba.
Island Lake, and where are you from?
I am from Fisher River, Manitoba.
And where are you from?
South Indian Lake, Manitoba.
Okay, so what was your first experience with Res Radio?
My first experience, just background noise pretty much, and my kukum would always listen to it, and I don't know, she would turn it on in the morning right away, and we'd just hear it in the background all the time, and I don't know, just same music and the voice, and I don't know, it's just memories now when I hear it now, being grown up, and it just feels kind of nostalgic.
It's Tanager at 904-7252. Let's get back to some more music here on BON FM. Here's some Timberland with Justin Timberlake and Nelly Furtado here on BON FM 90.9.
It's only been just over a year since 90.9 BON FM hit the air in the Broken Head Ojibwe Nation. And right around that same time, Mike Maple started his dream job.
Res Radio is different just on the community aspect of, you know, being Nietzsche native and passing that knowledge on.
On air, he's known as Uncle Mike, and he loves to play and listen to music all day long.
Hey everybody, welcome back to BON FM 90.9. That was Ariana Grande with No Tears Left to Cry. I hope you guys are having a good time.
He also does news announcements, makes commercials, and does live hits out in the community. He is the only person working at this radio station, and he takes every opportunity to get others on the air.
Tacos, if you guys want to call it, be specific about it. But we need our people in the media because it not only it builds jobs, it builds truth, and we can get our stories and stuff out there.
There are just over 150 Indigenous radio stations in Canada. Some have been in operation for over 40 years, and some are just starting.
First time I heard it was when I went with my cousin to visit his grandparents in Peguis.
Oh, yeah.
And they were listening to the radio and doing bingo. I think a song that reminded me of back home would be Ernest Monius, If I Wanted You, Girl.
Can you sing it a little bit for us? Just kidding.
No.
Just kidding.
You girl.
There we go, yeah. So what's some songs you would always hear?
Oh, you always like Hank Williams and all the old tunes, right? Like,
yeah.
Because that's what because they go by more of the older generation, right? Like what they want to listen to. Because a lot of the young kids, they want to listen to hip hop and well, there's stuff that you can't understand.
We them bougie natives. I got turquoise on my red. We them bougie natives.
Even the bougie Nietzsches reminisce about Res Radio.
Like any AC/DC.
I was just gonna say any AC/DC is a classic.
Yeah, like Thunderstruck for sure.
Another fan of AC/DC, musician Garrett T. Willie, points to some older but classic Res jams.
Indian Car, I think. I used to hear that quite a bit, and it wasn't played on very many other radio stations. So that comes to mind. A lot of John Fogerty, Bob Seger, Taking Care of Business, Randy Bachman, of course.
Res Radio is basically just a radio station on the res, like BON FM, but with very little oversight to operate. Mostly anything goes. That's because back in the late 70s and early 80s, the CRTC recognized the need for res radio and thought of ways to make it more accessible for remote First Nations. And so when you were out there, did you listen to their radio stations?
Well, you had no choice. What else are you gonna listen to? Wi-Fi is crap. So.
Would people call in?
Oh yeah, all the time.
What kind of things did you hear on there?
A lot of crazy stuff.
Stations could be set up as long as they're not interfering with other commercial stations and weren't broadcasting too far away from the res. And because these stations are limited in human resources, they aren't required to do a lot of the paperwork, like keep music logs. That way, the res stations can just focus on their programs, supporting community efforts and language.
So we're going to do a Buffalo bingo, get that going for the radio station to start generating money into the radio and into the community. Once we get that going as well, we're going to start employing people weekends, evenings, nights, on locations and everything like that too. Everything in between.
But Maple envisions a future where these stations are more connected with each other to share news and information more widely. He says it would be good because so many of us have connections to more than one First Nation.
Be that brother-sister relationship where we should all be coming together instead of trying to be separate individuals and in different radio rooms where we should. If we all come together, our news, our music, everything gets out there.
Yeah. Waking up in the morning with my grandparents, it's all you would hear. Saturday mornings, cranking up the fiddle tunes or Johnny Cash, all the old singers.
Someone who knows a little something about operating res radio is Pat Richard. Richard is one of 4 DJs from Sandy Bay First Nation Res Radio 106.3 FM. He started volunteering 12 years ago, the same day the station opened up.
I'm William Patrick Richard. I'm a DJ of Sandy Bay, our community. If you want to listen to 106.3 FM, just tune into sandybayradio.net. That's all you gotta do. All the good music's there.
It was August 23rd, 2011 at noon when Sandy Bay Radio first hit the air. As soon as he heard it, he drove straight down to what he now calls his radio shack to be nosy and hasn't left since.
But I loved it. I still love it. That's why I'm still here. I don't think I'd like to quit this job. I love it.
Richard is on the air early in the morning, Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. Requests for George Jones, Don Williams, and Charlie Major come in all the time from Sandy Bay and beyond. So when you hear one of those songs, how does it make you feel?
It takes you back to my younger days. That's how I feel. I go, whoa, now I'm 15 again. I had to start giving her,
And with the help of the internet, he has listeners from all around the world as far as Greenland and Afghanistan.
All these songs tell stories, and the people that request songs, you could feel the people out there that call in for requests, how they feel, how they go, and how they move along.
He also makes sure to play Indigenous artists like the Dodium Boys, Delaney Moniaz, and the Masu Boys. While he does have the occasional fiddler or singer-guitar player in, he'd like to see his radio shack expand a bit more so that he can have full bands live on air. As a musician himself, Richard would like to promote the local talent as much as he can. He also takes the time to include Ojibwe.
Yes, I do speak in my language. I'll do the weather in my language. I'll speak it out in my language, what the weather's like, and I speak the time. Like right now, 11:30 is the time, is what I said.
At the end of the day, these two DJs are living out a dream.
I've never worked since I started because I'm loving what I'm doing, and that's just a great place to be.
I love the music. The people love the music. The people are awesome. You know, beautiful people out here in Santa Be. I got lots of family out here.
Through the airwaves and beyond. Santa Bay.
All the way. That's what we always say.
Different cultures, traditions, and languages, where food unites them all. Celebrating our communities and families through recipes. Time to Eat, stream free on CBC Gem and CBC News Explore.
On the corner of this city street, there's something special happening.
To see this kind of crowd with this kind of sign in front of us, this is unbelievable.
A new restaurant is the reason, but it's more than that. It's what Nish Dish is serving up.
Nish Dish is really something that's making history. It's not just a restaurant, it's not just a food trend, it's really the reclamation of our food.
After years of running his Anishinaabe catering business, Chef Joel White Duck Ringette is making a statement with this storefront. Nish Dish is a place to grab bison on a bun, but it's also a community hub where Indigenous youth learn to harvest and prepare foods that Ringette was raised with.
We used to go out tapping trees and also picking berries and just having extraordinary food as children, not like it is now.
Which is why for Ringette, Nish Dish is about food sovereignty, sourcing and cooking with the ingredients his ancestors ate. There are limits. To serve elk, he can only use farm-raised, federally approved meat, but add it to a tasty stew, and he's building bridges.
For the fact that we are trying actually authentic food from by the Indigenous population, specifically Anishinaabe, it's a very beautiful experience.
Across town, Chef Joseph Schwana is telling his story with every plate. It starts growing up Odawa on Manitoulin Island, using French-style cooking techniques to transform humble ingredients. Today, it's braised elk, finished with a touch of sage.
Yeah, so as you can smell, it smells like, to me it smells like home.
Schwana named the restaurant Kukum, which is Cree for grandmother.
She always taught me that keep everything simple. Everybody would like simple food, so I cook simple. All my recipes are basically less than 10 ingredients.
Recipes that include a seal tartare starter.
We know there will be a little bit of people that will be upset about it, but it's part of the northern community's culture and what they ate. So trying to pay homage to them as we do with everything else.
With 2 new Indigenous restaurants in Toronto joining a growing number across Canada, there's change in the air. Both chefs credit the Prime Minister's apology and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
It's one of those things where you heal from it, and this one of the ways is showing your pride, your history, your heritage.
In Vancouver, customers come from as far away as New York City for a meal at the Salmon and Bannock Bistro.
My partner, for my birthday, asked me where did I want to go for dinner, and I could think of no better place than Salmon and Bannock, and so we flew here for dinner.
As the debate around cultural appropriation continues, more and more Indigenous chefs are reclaiming their culinary heritage, adding flavors missing from Canada's food scene.
So if you look around here, there's all kinds of cultural food places. This is one of the very few places for the host nations to offer what we have here to the people around us. And that's the first thing we did when the newcomers landed on our shores. We offered them food.
Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
Indigenous woman laughter will literally shake a room. We should hold hands.
Yeah,
sisterhood. Anytime me and my family go out for dinner anywhere, I know patrons are either happy around us or a little annoyed because we're so loud with our laughing.
It's very similar to a war cry, our laughter, I would say. It's kind of us
proclaiming, like, you know, we're in this space is the anti-laugh, whereas men need, like, you know, an actual war cry. but we have our laughter. There's nothing greater than an anti-laughter. You know, there's that whole concept of, like, you know, women aren't funny, or, you know, non-binary folks shouldn't be on stage. And, you know, that's, like, we know that isn't true. Women are actually funnier than men. Like, if you go to a family gathering, who are we laughing at? We're laughing at our aunties, we're laughing at our kookums, we're laughing at our auntie cousins.
One of the best memories for me growing up is just going to my family's house and sitting around the kitchen table and talking and laughing for hours on end about absolutely nothing whatsoever.
The one thing that we've always had is laughter. And I think now, more than ever, it's one of the most important things that we can give back to our community.
Something I love about Native humor too is teasing. The teasing thing is just to be teased, to tease, you know, if you're getting teased, that it's a good thing. It's actually like a loving, it's a way to show that someone actually enjoys your company.
I had an auntie once that looked at me, she was sitting across the table from me, and she's like, "Are you one of those?" And I was like, "One of what?" "You know, those ones that don't eat." I was like, because I'm skinny and my whole family is not skinny. And I was like, no. So I went and told my sister, like, you know what Auntie Reed just said? But we laugh about it because it's like, it's not intended to be rude. It's just so honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.